He had only one match left. Just one. But that tiny spark didn't just save a stranger's life, it changed his forever. James was a poor street vendor who sold tea on a small wooden cart. Every day he woke up before sunrise, boiled water, made tea, and pushed his cart to the busy bus stop. He did not earn much, but he worked honestly. People liked him because he always smiled, even when life felt heavy. One cold winter evening, business was slow. The sky was turning dark, and heavy clouds were gathering above the town. James looked inside his small tin box where he kept his matchsticks. He frowned. There was only one match left. He sighed. "I must be careful," he whispered. Without that match, he could not light his stove the next morning. Without the stove, there would be no tea to sell. And without selling tea, he would have no money for food. James thought about buying more matches, but the storm was coming fast, and the shops nearby were already closed. He wrapped his thin shawl around himself and began to push his cart home. As he walked through the empty road, the wind grew stronger. Trees shook. Dust and leaves flew through the air. Lightning flashed in the sky. James hurried. He wanted to reach home before the storm became dangerous. Suddenly, he heard a sound. It was soft at first, like a cry carried by the wind. "Help! Someone, please!" James stopped. He looked around, but saw nothing. The wind howled loudly. Again he heard the voice. "Please, help!" James stepped closer to a corner where an old banyan tree stood. There, leaning against the trunk, he saw a man shivering badly. His clothes were soaked with rain. His face looked pale, and his hands were trembling. "Sir, are you okay?" James asked. The man shook his head slowly. "Cold, so cold. I can't walk. My car broke down." James stared at him. The storm was growing stronger with every second. The man needed warmth, quickly, or he would collapse. James looked at his cart. He had tea, but without fire, he could not warm it, and the only way to make fire was with the last match in his pocket. If he used that match now, he would have nothing left for tomorrow. No match meant no tea. No tea meant no earnings. No earnings meant hunger. James closed his eyes for a moment. Then he made his decision. "Sir, don't worry," he said gently. "I will help you." James took out his small stove, placed dry paper inside, and carefully took out his last matchstick. His hands shook, not from the cold, but from fear. What if the wind blew it out? What if it broke? What if it failed to light? He took a deep breath and struck the match against the box. Pfft! A tiny flame appeared. It was small but bright. James shielded it with his hands until the paper caught fire. Soon, the flame grew stronger. He placed the kettle above it and waited. The warm steam slowly rose into the air. The man watched him with weak eyes. "Why help me?" he whispered. James smiled softly. "Because someday someone helped me too." Within minutes, James poured hot tea into a cup and handed it to the man. The man held it with both hands, trying to stop them from shaking. As the warm tea touched his lips, his body relaxed. Some color returned to his face. "You saved my life," the man said. James shook his head. "I just used what I had." The storm slowly passed. The man, feeling much better, stood up. "Let me call my driver," he said, taking out his phone. James helped him walk to a nearby shelter. A few minutes later, a large black car arrived. The driver rushed out and supported the man inside. Before leaving, the man turned to James and said, "I will not forget this." James smiled again, thinking the man was simply being polite. He did not expect anything. The next morning, James woke up with worry. He had no matchsticks left. He could not light his stove. He thought he might lose a full day of work. But when he opened his door, he saw a big surprise. A brand new shining stove stood outside his house. Next to it were boxes of tea, sugar, milk powder, and a full carton of matchboxes. On top of the boxes was a note. "To the man who used his last match to save a stranger, your kindness is the real fire that lights this world. Tom Matthew." James' eyes widened. Tom Matthew, the name sounded familiar. He quickly realized the truth. The man he saved last night was a well-known businessman in the city. James looked at the sky and smiled. His one match, the one he feared to lose, had brought unexpected blessings. He set up his cart again that morning, stronger and happier than ever. People noticed his new stove and asked what happened. James only smiled and said, "Sometimes the smallest spark can light the biggest path." Moral of the story: a small act of kindness can create a chain of blessings. Never underestimate the power of what you have, no matter how little it seems.